Welcome to Insights in Sound, where we talk to the people behind the scenes, behind the technology, and behind the music. People you may not know, but you should. And please check out getItinwriting.net/shows for a full list of our podcast YouTube series.
Welcome to Insights in Sound live from the NAMM Show floor. Very loud NAMM Show floor. My guests today are Simon Jones of Line 6 fame and Sean Halley of Strymon. Gentlemen, you have both had long and illustrious careers.
Very illustrious. Yes, Simon's especially very illustrious.
Well, Simon's is not just illustrious, it's illustrated. It's actually, it's one of those paint by number things, right?
Exactly.
They have a coloring book for you now?
Yeah, but especially paint by numbers, we only go to 10 though. Yeah. Actually, it was at 11. That was very sort of MI.
It goes to 11,
sort
of course it
music,
does.
Right?
Yes.
We got to make sure that we don't say anything else so that we don't get sued. But yes, the number can go to 11.
Yes, of course. So the theme that we want to talk about here is the idea that we are all, and many people in our industry are, musicians. Many of us began with, shall we say, rock star aspirations? Not even aspirations. We were damn sure of it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, come on, we all knew.
Yeah.
Every single one of us knew that we were going to be rock stars.
That was the plan.
It was the plan, yes. So somewhere along the way, we discovered that we had other talents, and we discovered that we could actually do other things besides playing. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why someone might choose to go work in technology. Tell me a little bit about how your convoluted path led you to working for a manufacturer. Simon, let's hit you first.
Really? Oh, how this could be interesting to anybody, I do not know. But it was all about, I think it was the classic sort of seeing somebody playing guitar on TV. I think in my case it was Elvis Costello, and I believe it was probably a red Strat or something like that.
It was a jazz master.
Something like that, and it's like, shoo, I want to do that, and and music. We're just sort of getting into music with sort of the tail end of punk and new wave of British heavy metal and all of that sort of stuff. So, I wanted to do that, and ended up playing guitar, borrowing a guitar, but then ultimately with a really old friend in his wood shop, making a guitar. So it was the first guitar, and that we sort of jammed with the jam band at school and played gigs in the local pub circuits, and it was just sort of a fairly entertaining, interesting sort of start in terms of
But how did you get into MI then?
Yeah,
how did you convert that
exactly
into MI?
Well, I think the thing is, it was
You want a job?
Sorry, I do too many of these. I apologize. Sorry. Someone just took over these. Sorry.
There we go. So how did I do that?
Well, it's funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask. Well, it's channeled and some nurturing through my glorious, fantastic parents, and said, look, you've got to go and get an education.
Your parents nurtured you?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, man.
They did, and they did a good
Privilege.
job. And I don't know how they did it, but they did it. So I went off. I got a degree in electroacoustic engineering, which was the closest thing I could attach to music and guitars. Essentially had that in my back pocket. I got out of that, and I sort of signed off and said, now I'm going to become a rock star, and sort of did the band in the van thing, and realized very quickly that playing to 8 people or 20 people or traveling around late at night on the M1 and the motorways in the van wasn't actually going to put a roof over my head or food on the table. So I started to prospect and use my background and my piece of paper there to get a gig. And it was almost by accident that it was a speculative application that Billy Woodman at ATC Loudspeaker Technology picked it up, and we had a chat. We got on great. He said, hey, I haven't got anything for you, but let's keep in touch. And about a month later, I got a call from him. He said, look, a colleague of mine, another Australian chap, has got a company called Martin Audio that do live sound systems. They're looking for an R&D engineer. So really it was a case of, I'm going to have a go at doing that. I think I can do that, and I can keep the band going. So it wasn't a deliberate connection. It was a question of, hey, I need to do something here to put food on. It's that sort of first adult moment that you realize that you actually need money. And that
especially if you want more gear.
And that was it. And ran side by side for a long time, you know. And I think the path is all that you sort of get more and more hooked into the career and what you can do, and integrated into the business, and building that skill set within a manufacturing environment. That the other thing, it starts to sort of fades the wrong word, but it gets pushed to the back. And it's pushed
The balance
to the back.
changes.
I mean, I have to be perfectly honest. Somewhere the desire to express yourself through art and playing guitar, it never goes away. So I could say somewhere in the back here that dream never really goes away. The reality of it has long gone. But that sort of the thing that got you started and really wants to, you wanted to fulfill is still.
We're each going to make our own record someday, is what you're saying.
Exactly, and and I think you find a lot of people do. And,
of course.
I mean, it's something they do, and they placate that need. But so it was a gradual thing for me. It was a need, it was a need to actually be an adult, and then I know it's
so
sad as that is, and it sort of morphed and sort of progressed into that.
Now, Sean, your path was a little bit different.
My path was, definitely.
Your path was very unusual.
And it continues to be.
Continues to be.
It does, yes. I have a tendency, for some reason, to do lots of weird little things that compile into some sort of a career. I never used to use the C word, career, because it was something that I didn't feel like I had, because I had another career. So I started, got a full ride scholarship to college for guitar after playing 3 years. So I had a classical guitar scholarship that I finished, and then basically started playing. But what's weird about my brain is that I have endless sort of curiosity. I mean, I really do. Like, I don't get bored. My parents, if I learned anything from my parents, which is great, it was how to learn. And I don't get bored. Even if I'm sitting in a doctor's office, I'll start looking at the construction of the building, or the lights, or how the wiring works, or why am I hearing that light, and what frequency is it running at. It annoys the crap out of my wife. But it means that I've constantly jumped from one thing to the next thing because of curiosity. So, jazz guitar degree, basically. And then I won the '92 Moscow Jazz Festival, and they gave me a Paul Reed Smith guitar as one of my prizes, and I traded it for a portable DAT machine, and I started recording Fulbright demos for students on campus that wanted to try for Fulbright scholarships. And then within 2 years, I was opening a room, doing independent records and that kind of stuff. And then a friend of mine that's a session guitar player heard some of the records I was doing and said, "Oh, you should start doing some commercial composing. This is really good." And I was already doing sessions during the day as a sort of like, I had a Nashville schedule, so like a 9 to noon and a 1 to 5. And then that was every day, Monday through Friday sessions. And then I played Monday through Saturday every week for about 3 years. So I was averaging 280 gigs a year.
Why aren't you filthy rich?
Well, because I was living in Utah at the time, and you never got any money for anything you did. But the point is just like, basically,
there's nothing to spend money on in
280 venues in Utah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Yeah. So 280 gigs a year. I did. I wrote film trailers for New Line Cinema. I used to do orchestral stuff, record records, whatever. So basically, it was all music. And then I moved to California, just like everybody else does. Did okay for about 6 months, and then took the inevitable job at a guitar store that shall remain nameless. And I was there for 26 days, and the Tascam rep rescued me and said, basically, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, I'm trying to eat. And he said, "Yeah, this isn't really the place for you to eat. You should come work for us." And that was where you and I met, because that was Tascam in the year 2000.
Ah, yes.
So essentially, it's the same living. The need to actually feed
Yes.
yourself. It's actually important.
Exactly, it is. And it was something where I moved to town, and I worked with Nick Fleetwood and some other things and did some stuff. But it's like, eventually, I took a record to produce, and it took too long to finish. And I spent all the money by the time it was over. And I started selling off my gear to try to eat, and it was awful. So
same sad story.
But it's interesting that the thing about what you're talking about in terms of the background that you have, what's great is that you get to lean on both the degree that you have and your passion for music
Yep.
at the same time. And it's, you're not you're not an acoustical engineer now for a living.
No, I mean the thing is, when I look at where I am now and the circuitous route that I took, I now probably play more guitar every day than I had ever done.
Wow.
Surrounded by, I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I'm right back where I started. Where I started this. You stopped me with it, so thank you very much for the full story. But I'm right back there where the original passion is, and I've been fortunate now that those actions that I've taken have led me back to going, oh, you look around, it's like, okay, I'm not shuffling off to the mailbox to collect my royalty check. Not that anybody is anymore, right? Maybe a few people.
Yeah, my royalty checks and yours as well have just, they're comical, man.
But
they're adorable.
But it's what a great industry to land in, and what a great thing.
So what do you say to people? I mean, I find when I'm speaking to younger people that the biggest fear is, oh, I'm compromising. I'm compromising my art because I'm taking a job working for a manufacturer. There's this whole kind of stigma to it. What do you say to that?
I would say it's important to make sure that you're not doing it just for the money. Meaning, it should be a job that you dig. If you're working in manufacturing, which we are, it would be really good for you to like what you make. The people that I've encountered that are unhappy in this industry and don't necessarily do well or last for a long time, traditionally are people that don't like what they're making, don't use what they're making, don't understand what they're making, don't have any real feeling one way or the other. It's a widget. And I've always, my opinion about this has always been that I never want to make widgets. I want to be involved in something that people like and people are invested in, because as musicians, we name our tools. It's like, you think about it, like we name our guitars, and I don't, but other people do. And
What's your favorite guitar chord?
Yeah, I've slimmed down. I'm down to 32 guitars. No, I'm down to 25 guitars. I've slimmed down.
Oh, you're hurting me.
Well, I used to have 30. Well, as a session guy, you have to, and they're not all Strats. There's weird stuff in there because some clients like that guitar and some, But anyway, the point is just that the idea of settling or compromising, it's really about converting that energy that you have for creation, or that energy that you have for music, and converting it into a way to manage helping somebody else to achieve what they want to achieve. And that I've left 2 or 3 jobs that I've had at companies I've been with before, where it didn't look like it was going to line up with what I wanted to do at that point. And, or it was originally when I got there and something changed. That's happened before as well. So at Strymon, we make some of the best sounding guitar gear that's ever been. And it has, it continues to inspire me as a player, not just as a person. And what that means as a marketer, or even as a salesperson, it means that I'm not really selling anything and I'm not really marketing anything. I'm just telling people about what I like. And that's always been my opinion. That's how it should be.
So absolutely. I mean, I think we're fortunate. Anybody within this industry that we're involved with products that are doing good, right? And they're interesting. We're not making bombs. We're not making sprinkler heads or ball bearings. So that is a big, big plus. I think for me, it's quite important to the line between the product and the production and the art is, I think it's gray. It's very broad in the fact that if you are so much more now responsible for the things that you use and how they work and how to make that happen and how those are connected to other things, that it's an advantage to actually be on the manufacturing, on the product side as well.
It's a good point.
Because it's so much part of what that is. And you're connected through that. It opens up all these other doors. I mean, look around. We're at NAMM here. And the mix of people, the artists that are involved with manufacturing. I mean, there's a very blurry line now. I think there used to be a stigma that of being your day job. Are you a worker or are you an artist? And you sort of try and keep the two separate. And I think that's got a lot closer together. That having a day job and a night job is
and having a day job it's not mutually exclusive to my buddy Scott Henderson's one of the top jazz guitar players on planet Earth, and he and I were talking on the phone last year, and he's like, dude, we both have day jobs, because he works at Musicians Institute 2 days a week.
Yeah.
He teaches there, and he's like, that basically affords him the ability to go off and tour when he needs to tour, whatever. But he's like, dude, we both have day jobs. You're at Strymon and I'm at MI, and it's like, but he's one of the top guys, and that's how he thinks about it. So it's like, it depends on what you want and how you're willing to what you're willing to compromise on. For Scott, he would never work at a manufacturer's because, as he told me, a great quote, I'd rather use my guitar as a paintbrush, not a broom.
Ouch.
Yeah, but I get it. But using it as a broom is still an honor and a privilege for a lot of people. You're not using a broom, So.
Well, and I think also, if you look at it from the manufacturer's perspective, the manufacturers are smart enough at this point to realize that they want people like us that understand what the user's pain points are.
Like
yeah, they really do.
I work with people that have phenomenal artist careers, creating, playing, absolutely amazing musicians, and it's a core part of the value that they bring to our business, and that experience and exposure and authenticity. Because it is, as you said before, our jobs now is to sort of place as marketeers, is to make the information available, but it's the artistic side and that authentic use of them that is the thing that we need.
I completely agree, and I think as well it's one of the things I like about being in marketing in a way is that I still get to have my hand in make weird content, and actually still get a chance to do it, even though I'm sort of, my role at Strymon is I head the marketing sort of function, but I'm sort of a player coach, so I'm still making video stuff. I'm still, actually recording things and making things and stuff. And I get the chance to use all that crazy background in my day job. And it's like, I was in products at many companies. So I'm in, product discussions all the time. I'm in sales discussions because I have a sales background. You get a chance to use whatever skills you have to help guide the business and make sure that the business is presenting themselves in a way that A, customers will respond to, but B, is authentic to the business. And that's, once you start getting on the inauthentic train, it's hard to get off.
Yeah, credibility is key.
Yeah.
Yes. But the other thing that I think, now you're talking about specifically marketing. And marketing, I think, is interesting because marketing does have a very strong aspect of creativity to it, as does being a musician. And I think that's, maybe I think a lot of people envision this, I'm going to work for a manufacturer as I'm going to be standing on a conveyor line or something,
That's a really good point, because you have to be creative, and, we get to flex that muscle. You're launching you got new products coming down the pipe, right? There are some knowns about it in terms of who the projected customer is and what the product is and what the benefits are. But essentially, you start with a blank sheet of paper and say, okay, well, market it.
Yeah.
And that requires some creativity to fill that blank piece of paper up with how are you going to do that?
When I left my last job at a manufacturer, which is 20 some odd years ago, I immediately started a PR company. What I realized almost immediately was I'm using a lot of those same skills. I'm creating content, and whether you're creating content that is, an album, or whether you're creating a marketing campaign or a brand rollout or everything, you're using a lot of those same muscles.
Yeah, it's about making a connection between something you're trying to convey, and if you're a very good guitar soloist versus an average guitar soloist
versus a shitty one like me.
No, I'm just, you think about things in a very different way. If you're trying to create something that has a beginning and an end and has an arc and a flow to it, and you're trying to make a connection between what I'm feeling and I'm feeling inside to what I'm going to play. And there's no difference between that and trying to say, okay, I have this product, this is what I think it means, this is what I think it's for, and whatever, and then try to figure out a way to convey that to somebody so they might actually think the same thing.
That's a great metaphor. I mean, you talk about the beginning, middle, and the end. I mean, we all marketing, everybody's familiar with the customer journey.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like, how do you what is the beginning, middle, and the end? And
Yeah, and there's an arc. There's an arc, and some people will respond to what you're talking about, and some people won't. And you have to choose your resources as to how much time you have to localize everything for every single person that might receive that message. And sometimes you don't have time or bandwidth, and sometimes you do.
And guitar players in particular, it's a funny audience. It's a unique audience.
Yeah, it's very true.
You know what I find, because Ampeg's part of our gig as well. I must say that there are bass players and guitarists. They are a different breed.
We are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something. Yeah, bass players don't need as many sounds, but they're still really picky about those two sounds.
Very picky about that. It's 3. Come on.
It is 3.
Be nice now.
If you have a J bass, it's 3.
Exactly. Thank you.
Middle and both.
Well, I go through this running thing with my wife about how many basses I have. Why I need so many.
And how many?
7.
It's all right. That's good. That's a good number. I think that's a good round number.
So 7 is a round number.
Yeah. That's a good number.
I was going to go back to building guitars. You were talking about guitars so much, you're going to go all the way back there again. But it's funny because a couple of years ago, I set the bench up in the garage, and they keep on materializing. These little projects come there, and so they'll be squirreled away in the garage, and then another guitar. They're not worth anything. It's quite cathartic, sort of working on them. But I'm breeding them right now. There's just too many, but they're not worth anything. It's sort of collecting. It's walking.
Look, it's about catharsis. Like, music is about catharsis, and it's about allowing you to express yourself, but also some people just need to do it for a thing. And if you're building instruments, it doesn't matter what they're worth. They're worth something to you.
I tell you what, if anybody wants a hand-built SJ guitar, then you know where to find one right now.
Oh, we'll talk. So, returning to our recurring theme here, you guys have both managed to really kind of merge your creative juices and your manufacturing positions, shall we say, positions with manufacturers. Part of that, I think, is acknowledging our own diversity, right? I mean, none of us as musicians are, we're all very multifaceted. And, I like to say I'm a lead actor in short attention span theater. I'm constantly looking for something new to learn, to do. Do you find that now the people that are coming up, that you're hiring now, that you're bringing into companies, are they more conscious of this, of being multifaceted than, let's say, we were because we came up, as we said, we came up with this single vision of, I'm going to be a rock star. That's it. That's end of story.
I think if you're a musician now, then you have to be. You are, because you are you're more. I mean, we all did, whether it's cassette tapes, or CDs or whatever, or merch. It's
Reel to reel.
You
wax cylinders.
Not quite the wax cylinders.
Wire wound.
Suit cams and string. So I think you had to promote, but it was limited. Now the tools to promote and self-promotion are really vast, and you have to think about that stuff. So I think anybody that, if I were me back then now, if that makes any sense, then I think the skill set or what you've actually had experience with would be far greater than I had back then.
And they're also immersed in technology and media, unlike we were.
That's true.
The immediacy of Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, gaming, Discord, Streamlabs, Twitch, all that stuff. I mean, the immediacy.
You just rattle them all off.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe sponsoring.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where a young child from a very young age has electronics that we would never have dreamed of in the 70s when the digital watches came out. You know, they just had digital numbers on them, and they were like $150. It didn't do anything but time and date. And then the ones with the calculators came out with a little calculator thing on.
Funny thing is, everybody's wearing those now.
I know. Well, now it's retro chic. But when the little calculator ones came out, I wanted that. I wanted one so badly because it just had buttons on it. But it's like an iPhone is, you know, which lots of kids have at a very young age now, is a laptop in your pocket. And it's like, so they're way more, young people are way more prepared with technology, with media, with content. They think about, they look at their favorite people on Instagram and Twitch, and they go, okay, cool. They're talking about themselves and they're doing all this stuff. That means that if I want to do this and promote myself, I have to, because the labels aren't going to do it. So, you know, there are no labels. So, I mean, there are some, but if you want to be on Jimmy Kimmel, you still got to be on a label. But the point is just that if you know, the kids that I'm seeing now and my youthful members of my team, they're children of the world. They're far more savvy about technology and about what you have to do if you're in any sort of creative endeavor to promote yourself.
So I think basically the answer is yes.
What was the question?
Whether they were more experienced.
Keep it together.
More experience.
I just didn't know which question he was answering yes to.
More experience coming into a gig now in the industry. Is there a broader range of skills? And I think the answer to that is yes.
Is there a downside to that?
Meaning, is there a downside to them being more prepared or being less focused on music organically, you mean?
Well, okay, there's a couple of questions there, I guess. The first question is in terms of being less focused, because many of them have not been in a band, have not experienced ensemble playing at all.
Very true.
So there's that.
Very true.
But the other thing I'm thinking is that with the proliferation of anybody can create music now. Anybody can put music up there now. Therefore, there's a lot more mediocre music, right? Is the same thing true in terms of marketing? Are there people now who are coming up who fancy themselves as really great marketers and their marketing is crap, for example?
Well, I don't know if we really want to comment on that kind of thing. I mean, I think there are always, if you study Dunning-Kruger and you understand Dunning-Kruger and how that works, basically that research suggests that in order to know whether or not you're good at something, you have to possess the potential to be good at it, given enough time and effort. So there's always going to be people that don't really know that they're not good singers, or don't really know that they're not a great player or whatever, just because they don't really possess the potential to be good at it. Or that, you know, after how much they work.
So it's a self-awareness thing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're not good at a ton of other stuff. It just means that one thing they may not understand. And so I don't know. I think there's always going to be people. I'm sure that I exhibit some of those tendencies depending on what subject you're talking about. Not really about music, but about other stuff. Sure, I probably do. I probably think I could be a way better woodworker than I probably would ever be.
I like the band analogy though, because that's something that, you know, if you've experienced a band and you know how a band works and how everybody plays their own part, but together they have to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Whether it's somebody else's point A to point B, or whether you develop that yourself, then, you know, I think somebody once said that, you know, in terms of, you can have the greatest drummer in the band, absolutely fantastic, knocks it out of the park, but if they're inconsistent showing up to rehearsals, then, well, what's the point? You know, and that I think is a good metaphor for, maybe to answer your question, the other question. whichever that one was, yes. So the band metaphor is great, right? Because everybody has to show up, everybody plays their part. And I think that's the downside. If you're not focused, if you don't know your part, and you're not committed to show up every day and play your part, and you're not aware or aligned with the outcome that you're trying to drive and attain to as a group of people,
yes,
then you've got a problem. Then you don't fit. That's when it stops to work. So that's the thing that, you know, going back to the band metaphor, it works because it's like you've got to play that part. You have to know that that's the part that you're here to play, and that if you're prepared to come and play that part and show up consistently, and possibly learn new skills and understand how this bit works and how that bit works, then great, you've got a job for life. You've got a career. If you show up every day wanting to learn, wanting to do your bit, knowing how it fits, and you're empathetic to other people around you, then.
And also having the survival gene. Meaning that, no,
Yes,
meaning,
so true.
Meaning that for me, what that term actually means is probably something different, maybe. But it's caring and giving a shit that if your name is on it, that it's good. I would say I know more people. To your other question about do people does bad marketing exist? I know lots of people that I've met over the years where if something's due on Friday, they just do something because it's due.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the really good work comes when you care. And I'm, it's the same reason why you will rarely find typos in my texts. I don't really, because I want to make sure that it's damn perfect before I send it. It's awful. It's a curse.
I see. I'm not sure what to do with that. But next time I text with you, I'm going to check.
Yes, exactly. Check.
So, we are obviously a bunch of old white guys. We have been doing this for a long, long time, and we are very happy with the paths that we have chosen. What do you say to somebody who is, let's say, a young person coming out of recording school or whatever, and they have these aspirations that do not include working for a manufacturer, do not include really working in technology? They're either going to be a rock star or they're going to be a rock star engineer, rock star producer, something like that. When those people are then confronted with the opportunity to, as you say, somebody's coming in and, headhunting you, whatever, what do you say to them? I mean, because obviously there are a lot of opportunities there for them to not only get a steady paycheck, but to really gain new skills.
Look, a bit of a generalization doesn't always work, but I always operated on the philosophy that if an opportunity was in front of you, you'd take it. Unless there was some sort of mitigating thing that it was just, it was really not on the cards, i.e. it was, the other side of the world. Oh, no, that happened. But whatever those things were, and it is keep your mind completely open, explore every opportunity, even if you don't take it, explore it and be open to the idea that it could be something, and let that lead you, and that can lead you to the next thing. I mean, I feel as though, for me, there's a certain amount of luck in anybody's career path, whether you're a successful musician or, I consider myself, I was really fortunate to meet the right people at the right times. Some of that was, yes, you can put yourself in the right place, and you can sort of get, and that we all hear that in terms of music and being a successful musician, but it applies to your career as well. So if you do, just work at it, and as Sean said, show up, work, and be accountable for what you do. Really care about what you do.
I think as well, if you're a young person, it doesn't have to work one way. So when I moved to town as a musician, and I had a list of a bunch of people to call, or people that I wanted to meet, basically. And because I was standing behind a counter with my shirt tucked in at a guitar store, no one was going to talk to me. But what's really funny is that I got to Tascam, and within a year of being at Tascam, I was, session ace Michael Thompson's best bud, because I was helping him with problems with machines he didn't know how to work. I spent 5 years at least as Mike Landau's Pro Tools tech, so there were all these people that I wanted to meet that I actually met via manufacturing, and not because of any sort of, meeting him at a function or at a studio or whatever. So it can work both ways. I mean, there was a very powerful, a very successful producer, Tal Hertzberg, who went from a manufacturing rep for software to become right-hand man of Ron Fair. So, I mean, it's like, very successful record producer. So it doesn't have to, more making Simon's point, any opportunity, be open to the idea that it could be interesting, and you'll learn something. And, I've met lots of people in manufacturing that I probably wouldn't have met if I hadn't had something that they needed or something that I could offer them. But the point is just that there are, by hanging out with those people, depending if your brain is open, you can learn stuff from them as well. And I have lifelong relationships. I've been in LA now 22 years or whatever, and I know so many people back from those early. You and I still talk, and we've been friends for 22 years.
God knows why.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Especially with those shoes. But no, I'm kidding.
Shoes.
Come on now.
I like them too. No,
Come on now.
I think they're awesome. I totally do. But it's there are benefits that come from all sorts of places, and I'm really happy that of all the weird tertiary little weird sort of places that my career's gone. It's weird.
I think we can all pretty much say that, right? There's a lot more to it than just, I got to take a day job. Because we are really fortunate in the kind of day jobs we've had. So I usually try and wrap it with some advice, but you guys have given as much bad advice as you possibly could already. So
Thank you.
Yes. So, yeah. But basically there are a lot of different paths out there.
Well, it's about just, I don't know, enjoying it and finding something if I worked for Lee Oscar harmonicas, for instance, it wouldn't be something that I really got excited about, because even though I totally dig great harmonica players and totally dig, everyone from Toots Thielemans to Magic Dick or whoever, any of these people that are really badass harmonica players, working for a harmonica manufacturer for me wouldn't really get my juices flowing, because it's not really something that, however, for lots of people, it's probably completely amazing. So it's finding what resonates with you and finding a way to insert yourself into that situation and provide value, and then enjoy it.
So the old cliche, do what you love and everything else will follow, right? That's a great guiding point. That's a sort of a GPS, that's a sort of a great mantra. The reality of that is difficult, because as both Sean and I found out, that doing that, that you really had to feed yourself at some point. So I think it really is going back to the fact that you find something that you're passionate about and be as authentic to yourself as possible, while absorbing as much as possible from the people around you. And you don't have to be them. Don't be yourself. Just be true and authentic to yourself, because you are you, right? And you're not going to be all these other you're not going to be all these other people that have been successful at doing this and this and this, because they're them and you are you. But what you can do is you can learn, you can observe what they do, and just like writing a song, everybody sort of does a little bit of plagiarizing here, is inspired by other people. Do the same thing and work it like that, and you're going to be happy. You're going to find a good, prosperous career path. Show up, be accountable, and off you go. As easy as that.
It comes down to also, how do you define success? What is success? Because success is not necessarily financial.
No,
it's waking up every morning and not thinking about, I don't want to do that today.
Yeah.
Everybody has their bad days. That's the reality of it. But on the whole, 9 times out of 10, you go, it doesn't feel like work.
I wake up every morning really grateful for doing what I do. I'm sure you guys do too. Simon Jones, Sean Halley, thank you for being my guests.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
I hope we've actually created something informative.
Hey, I'm Daniel Keller. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join us each week for Insights in Sound.